man, you need to buy yourself a gun. What? Gun? What? Like a handgun for personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you. What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? An automatic rifle and a lot of ammo. Good.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. 10-footed cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. It's okay, no running to the banksters. They stole your pension fund. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is Tuesday. We are live. We are on time. Breathless as it is, this is PrimerTime on UCY.tv. My name is Michael, and I am truly impressed with my co-host tonight.
I am Nicholas, and I have figured out the time-space continuum.
You are the man. I'm telling you, we hooked in right as the song ended. That was awesome. That was really awesome. I appreciate it. Myself.
I do not recommend trying to drive about 25 miles and making it in about 15 minutes.
That puts you, that can put you at risk depending on the jurisdiction and locale, as I so recently found out.
Yeah, definitely. I had to go into Charlottesville to make sure that the Confederate general statues were still there. And they are. However, our illustrious city council has decided that they want to place a black fabric shroud over these. So instead of the shroud of Turin, we have the shroud of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson.
Did they carbon date that fabric back to Walmart?
No, they haven't even figured it out yet. They haven't determined what the fabric shall be made of.
It should be a chiffon or something that would be appropriate at a gala event.
Yes, preferably with rhinestones.
Oh my Lord!
So
it seems that there's no end to the idiocy. The best meme I've seen about this was two Kentucky Fried Chicken employees moving a Colonel Sanders statue, or the Colonel Sanders icon, and it's another Confederate statue being removed. Come on now, this is like the way I see it. If this flag or these statues that had really no bearing and impact on your life like 2 years ago, if this is currently the world's greatest issue and the greatest issue in your life, and this is like keeping your life in a holding pattern, your life has no meaning. Your life has very little value to anybody except probably the pharmaceutical companies.
This is just one of those things that in this town, which I'll tell you, like many like university towns across the country, prides itself on having a very well educated population. But what this is a town that was in the South, was heavily dependent as an agrarian society, something that relied on agriculture to make dollars. There was an underclass here.
Educated. I like how you said the educated, because that's like what the appearance on the surface seems to be, and that's what's being pushed by the media as it's the educated left that's against these intolerant, bigoted Nazis and remember
backwoods Nazis.
Oh, what is it? Simpletons and country bumpkins, I think, is the original definition.
Well,
but
you add that to the bitter clingers.
Well, yeah. Bitter clingers came along a little ways after simpletons and country bumpkins did. But what I'm saying is these people who are the most vocal of the left, and especially the most vocal of the proudly socialist, and even more into the vehemently communist side, they seem to forget that. Well, Nick, you and I read the Comrade Jamal thing. These people are poor students of history. They are the harmful bourgeois element that will eventually be purged. You are going to bring in the revolution, comrade, but at some point you will not be dedicated enough to the program, and they will eliminate you. And that's just the way history works. It's done that a couple of times.
Sure, yeah. Well, when Comrade Jamal and Comrade Cletus liquidate your belongings out from under you,
I'm telling you, you've just not been dedicated. You've not been dedicated enough to the party, and I'm telling you that. And there's a shout out to Mr. Teeter for that, just because I'm glad he got the message of that. And that thing is it's wicked. I hope to God somebody throws that into the chat room there. But I not one of these guys has read Homage to Catalonia.
Yeah, certainly not.
And
the interesting thing is
it's all laid out in exactly how the Spanish Civil War played out. You had the left faction, which was comprised of many, many different groups, and with the Soviet style communists in there, which are the hardline communists, which are whatever is being financed by Soros today, basically.
That fine Jew hunter he was.
Right. He said it was the best time of his life when he was doing that. So there's a very interesting interview with him out there, and it gets loaded up onto YouTube. Then it gets eliminated,
liquidated.
It gets liquidated quite often, but it always pops right back up. And,
to quote Dr. Evil, they were insolent and therefore they were liquidated.
He says that he really enjoyed his time as a Sonder commando, like helping liberate his own people of their goods and whatnot. But
their goods and teeth.
Their goods, teeth, shoes. What you gonna do with all them shoes?
Yep. So it's just interesting because this place has been on the map for now about a week. It was known as the place where the rape on campus didn't occur. This was the Rolling Stone.
Was that Mattress Girl, or is that the?
This is the Irish writer Sabrina Rubin Erdley, very Irish name, from the county of Cork, and yeah. So this was the individual who wrote for Rolling Stone and chose to use the word of a person who claimed to have been raped on the campus at the University of Virginia. So that was their claim to fame in the last 2 years. And even though that story ended up being false, and Rolling Stone and that writer are now liable for quite a bit of cash. This is a town that had been widely criticized as being too white. We have one member of the city council, which for a council style government, there is a mayor, but he's a mayor in really name only. There's a city manager, and then there's the rest of the council that run the show in the city. This is one of those things where it's almost one party. There is no dissent among the 5 members of the city council in most cases. Of the Duma. So it probably made it national news yesterday that the city council meeting that started pretty late in the evening was disrupted by protesters, and choosing not to allow the council members to speak during their allotted time, and they stormed the dais. What did we determine today? Hey, yo, hold up.
Hey, yo, hold up. Hey, yo, hold up.
Yeah. So the the requisite banner was unfurled across the dais that said "Blood on your hands," yada yada yada. And to which the way I look at it is, if you're a one party city government and you are now taking flack from the people who elected you, you should pretty much just sit there and take it. But no, they decided to retreat from the council and go into a recess, to which they would only they would only return from when the people who were in attendance agreed to simmer down, as it were.
Simmer down.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, hold up. Yeah, no, I don't know, man. I think this is beyond idiocy. I think it's a manufactured push for a race war. It's a manufactured push for one of the Soros style color revolutions. And color revolution refers to what happened in Egypt. It refers to what happened in Iran. It refers to what happened in Libya. There's talk that Syria began with the fomentation of somewhat of a color revolution. It's really not. Recently, today, what was it? The petition to have Antifa classified as a terrorist organization reached the 100,000 signature mark, and it's still growing. It reset in 3 days. That's a voice of the people, somewhat.
Yeah, and you never know, because I mean, these are just individual IP addresses that are being registered. There's no way to verify who's who.
No actual signature or anything like that.
Yeah. So and the way I look at it is, let's get down to it. I mean, we've talked about Antifa a little bit. If you've got to be anti something, you have to be pro something, right? So why don't we just call these guys socialistas?
Procos or something. Instead of Antifa, they're Proco.
Yeah, pro-communists.
Procom, something like that. I mean, yeah. Look, I was watching a live stream because, today as we speak, like this gigantic, I don't necessarily want to call it a soap opera, because it's not necessarily as dull and tried as a soap opera. Mainly because we're participants in this story. And we all have something to either gain or lose by this, basically for most of the listeners of this show, people in the United States. And, well, honestly, everybody in the world, because if we go down, you're going down with us. We got 7,000 nukes, and we know how to fuck up your people for like 5 generations. Do not tempt us. We have McDonald's in countries for less than this.
Well, if we can turn someplace into a glass parking lot, we've done our job.
But there's no profit in turning it into a glass parking lot, right? Because glass parking lot, it's like up and done. You use one great big bomb, and then that's it. There's no continued purchase of, Chevy Blazers and Tahoes for, adjunct staff, from some dealer, in Kenosha, Wisconsin or something that, ends up shipping, Chevy Tahoe.
Hey, yo, hold up.
Hold up.
Just because they don't want the level of freedom that we are about to bring, don't mean that you got to get all up in the grill.
All right, so straight up, I saw a story that said because of spectral analysis of Mars, that there's a high probability of petroleum under their surface.
Mars is about to get liberated.
We are going to free the shit out of Mars.
Mars don't know it yet, but it better watch out.
Al Qaeda of the Martian faction just declared something on somebody.
Yep. Yeah, that is bad business.
Yeah.
Oh well. So hey, I went ahead and dropped. I went ahead and dropped in chat a story on our favorite channel, CNBC. About Remington. You remember the Remington 700 allegations that came out in about 2010?
Right. There was a bunch of noise about Remington triggers being very, very dangerous. And, I guess the Remington trigger straight out of the box is not dangerous. It's when you start tinkering with it, it becomes dangerous. And they had to tinker with it to achieve what they allege. And straight up honest, there's a lot of people who buy Remington rifles who go ahead and tinker with it and enable this same condition. But Remington doesn't sell a faulty product. You know, if you got to buy a brand new Chevy truck and you go immediately and you go shove like a screwdriver into into some like vent opening or something, it doesn't mean that the truck is bad. You fiddled with it.
Yeah. Well, basically right now, there's an official website for the settlement process that Remington is under order, which is about a $12.5 million class action suit. Says that estimates the repair process to take about 12 weeks from the time Remington receives a Model 700 or any of the other models that are affected in terms of the trigger repair that needs to be completed, and that all claims currently on hold until the appeals process plays out. So basically what you're looking at is a Model 700, as well as the Model 7, the Sportsman 78, Model 673, 710, 715, 770, 600, 660, 721, 722, 725, and the XP 100 pistol. That's a lot.
That's like 80% of what they've sold in the last 20 years.
But you know what I don't see in here? I do not see, and I want to say they had a model. I know the 710 was the polymer stock. Wasn't there a model 783?
No, there's a 783. There's like a 711. There's like a 721. There's all kinds of, and basically any of those 7 with some other smaller number behind it is almost a disposable rifle. The 700 is the last of the good rifles that Winchester made. I'm sorry, that Remington made. They all ended up, man. I don't know. It's Remington, man. They call it Rustington. Because brand new shotguns come to you straight from the store. Brand new in the box with rust on the inside of them. That's just no. Their quality control has gone down, and we've looked into the ownership of Remington. Remember, we explored Freedom Group and the Cerberus Capital Group, and it goes back to the man in charge again. We don't want to mention his name too much, but it's George Soros, and
yeah,
he's not necessarily looking out for your or my best intention right there.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if you could actually trace the money back to him, because I mean, groups and companies and corporations, they come and go, and minority ownerships, don't end up being worth a whole lot.
It's a corporation, and it's the shell game thing behind it, and who's playing who and all that. But in the end, that he's the guy who's actually like pulling the strings on it, just because it benefits every one of his pet projects. Nobody's that lucky. Nobody's that lucky.
Yeah.
So anyways, I want to bring up Savannah, Georgia. That's a town that's kind of got like a little bit of a ding for me and you. We've both been there at separate times. We both kind of like enjoy the area. It's kind of a nice part of the South. It's a very special city. It's one of the only cities in the South that did not get absolutely destroyed and clusterfuck during the Civil War.
And that would happen to be because, just like Charlottesville, when Sherman decided to come through, they surrendered.
Well, they not only surrendered, but he found it to be such a beautiful city that he couldn't destroy it. He offered it as a gift to Abraham Lincoln or something like that.
Well,
anyways,
that tells you what he thought of Atlanta then, huh?
Right, yeah, he burned Atlanta right to the ground. He must have landed at Hartsfield or something.
No, I think it was the number of stoplights.
So. That's horrible. Yeah. So, anyways, Savannah is an ethnically diverse city, and it's growing much more so, and as such, it's got a problem with crime, and there's many community efforts to stop the crime, and one of them is the infamous gun back program. So coming out of Savannah, the SavannahNow.com, out of Savannah Morning News, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to probe possible gun thefts from a Savannah gun buyback program. How do you feel about that? And how often do you think that happens in other places?
So would these be guns that are stolen after the purchase in kind from the police department has already taken place?
After you've received your
compensation,
your gift card for whatever it is. It's usually a grocery store or Walmart or something like that. Nick, I'm actually sending this to you right now here.
Okay.
Let's see here. But let me get to looking at this here. I found it to be just another interesting story. We see that these gun buybacks often, many times we've seen deactivated and
demilled.
Demilled. You can't even really call it demilled because some of these are single use items, like a military law rocket, which is just basically a tube. It can't be rearmed. There's no components available to rearm this thing, and it's just a neat wall hanger. It's kind of like an updated version of that great big empty battleship, or some sort of like 20 millimeter or 30 millimeter round or something, some sort of empty tank shell that somebody may have as a keepsake or keep an umbrella or something in. That's always held, rocket launcher removed from the street. Well, that's not a rocket launcher.
Yeah, well, it's never about the truth or accuracy in the reporting. It's about the level of fear instilled.
All right, so anyhow, Chatham County District Attorney Meg Heap on Friday asked the Georgia Bureau of Investigations to probe possible theft of firearms from a Savannah grassroots gun buyback initiative.
How do you have grassroots gun buyback initiative? Isn't that in effect straw purchase?
I was going to say, why don't you and I set up grassroots gun buyback? We'll keep them off the streets and out of the hands of the children. I'll give you a $20 gift certificate to Walmart.
Yeah,
no, man, I'll buy you a phone card. I'll give you a 6-pack.
Well, this is the interesting thing. So, for those of you who have never been to the Queen City of the South, being Atlanta, but the city to the east, which is Savannah, it is a very aesthetically pleasing city. Really known for the parks. Forsyth Park is one of the largest parks in the city, and it's actually got a historic burial ground actually in the park confines due to, I think, what was a smallpox outbreak in the early 1800s, and then again after the Civil War. But this is what largely remains of antebellum South, and mansions and plantation style homes, and then you have the iconic Savannah River, which is they occasionally dye that green for St. Patrick's Day. It's the largest St. Patrick's Day outside of Boston for the parade that's held. To include having the coastal Georgia very, very close by, and you'll have Tybee Island, which is
Tybee Island right there. And I mean, there's a whole lot of history at that area. There's military base. I mean, we lost a nuclear bomb there.
We know where it's at. We just didn't go back and pick it up.
We just ain't gonna dig.
We didn't lose it. We just didn't know where it was at.
Actually, you know what? I'll bet I'd put money that bomb is not lost. That bomb
that might have been repatriated.
I think it was repatriated to another country that starts with I.
Ireland.
The Irish. Damn, Irish are taking over the world.
That's it. If it wasn't by potatoes, it was going to be by another method. So what do you think of the Ohio judge who returned fire from a parking lot and killed his attacker?
I think that's a very, very interesting story. It definitely goes to show that there are threats in many, many different lines of work. That's one of the lines of work that I would almost assume that there'd be a threat to your life at some point. It proves the effectiveness of being able to have yourself able to return fire and fight back, and somebody who's on your side be able to maybe join the fray and give you a hand, because I think it was a bailiff or some sort of constable or something was also in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah, parole officer. Yeah. So this is out of Steubenville, Ohio. This was a judge who was being targeted by the father of basically a person who had been accused and convicted of rape from high school, and this is in the Mahoning County Courthouse. This is a very interesting thing. Is that after he was attacked, the judge was able to return fire along with a parole officer and kill the suspect. So, in and of itself, that judge and that parole officer should be commended for, number one, taking the steps to protect their own lives, and number two, for removing the burden from the taxpayer of having to house this otherwise unstable individual for the rest of his life.
It's I think in New York, a year of jail for a prisoner costs more than a year of education at Harvard. Like that's inclusive of books and tuition and room and board. It's something like it's like $600-700 more on average to house a prisoner.
I don't doubt that at all.
Hey, so this hey, hold up. Hold up. This brings to mind this incident with this judge returning fire on this guy. Kind of, and we're going to have to discount that this guy is a judge, because, straight up honest, the rules are going to be different for him. But if you or I had been in that situation and you had to return fire and, praise Jesus, please don't let one of them bullets actually hit you or anything. And, you're going to have some sort of interaction with the police afterwards.
Oh,
and one thing that is absolutely going to happen is you are going to lose that firearm. You are not going to walk out of whatever meeting you have with the police after that event. You're not going to have that firearm.
Oh, certainly. That firearm is going to be entered into evidence. It will be basically under the care and supervision of whatever county law enforcement or city law enforcement that is that jurisdiction. You may even have to incur a waiting period for which you can actually apply to receive that firearm back. But when you look at it like this,
yeah, the firearm is going to become evidence in whatever case, whatever kind of review that happens regarding the incident that you're involved in. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a shooting incident.
No. It could be where this was drawn. If this was drawn.
It can just be something where an officer takes control of somebody's weapon.
Right, certainly.
And that happens for many different reasons. And, not to speak from personal experience or anything, but, they can. And a lot of straight up cops aren't the most educated people in the world. There's a reason why they become a cop and they don't go out and get a real job. And, firearms are still kind of a scary item. So, something that may happen where your rights may be infringed on may occur, and it does happen. And you could have the loss of possession of that weapon. And you're probably looking at, it's not going to be loss of possession for 24 hours or anything. You're looking at month and a half, 2 months at a bare minimum. So, this kind of brings to mind a topic here. What would you consider to be, with that scenario, that A, you either have to use it in defense of your life, or B, you get pulled over by overzealous super cop or something for, like a tail light that's not functioning or a non-functioning turn signal, and he turns it into some great big old jackass mess, and he seizes a pistol. What do you do in a situation like that? And, what are some of the considerations to take? Do you want him to seize your, $900 irreplaceable, 1969, T-Series Browning high power with, ivory grips on it? You want him to take that?
I think at that point, with my distrust of the average police officer, I want him not to revoke my life. So at that point, I make a very snap judgment call, and the law of self-preservation applies. And at that point, I'm pretty much going to comply, because who knows kind of day that guy had.
And that's what I think that's the basis of this conversation, is that you will comply. But even though you will comply, you're still going to suffer this loss of the weapon at some point. That's just
you know what I've often been told in my life, and quote me if I'm wrong. You can be wrong or you can be right, but dead right is dead wrong.
Absolutely. And I'm by no means encouraging any sort of get in that cop's face and do anything like that, because honestly, these guys are morons and they carry a lot of bullets, and they got an itching to use their toys. And so it brings us back to this topic of, you've got this possibility now that you're going to face the potential of loss of this weapon, whether it's due to the defensive use of it, or you got pulled over for a crack in your windshield, and some that should be a ticket, becomes an arrestable and loss of a firearm offense,
or a vehicle.
Right, and it happens in today's society. It happens to many more people than just me.
This is the downside of the civil asset forfeiture laws.
Well, it's not only civil asset forfeiture, but I mean, it's into this mindset of that everybody is a terrorist and everybody's a criminal, and more of, and actually this morning I actually heard a story. There's a group of police officers that are suing. I think they're suing Black Lives Matter or some other group right now for a form of racial discrimination, or they've not sued. They're making noise about it somehow. And they're calling it blue discrimination, and they don't see cops as black or white or Asian or Hispanic or whatever. They just see him as blue, and that's just the way it is. But I mean, so it's almost, to me, that's almost kind of a joke in the way that they're trying to push it back. But at some point, I think they're somewhat serious. But nevertheless, do you want to be face this situation and you have your $1,300 gold gold eagle, or like the double eagle, or some sort of a Kimber, God help you, you want to be caught.
I don't have that much money to waste,
right? Or do you want to be caught with like a Keltec P11 that you could pick up for what are they? They're probably less than $250 right now.
Yeah, I mean, here's the bottom line. I would hate to lose certain firearms. I would be less worried about certain firearms in my collection. Bottom line is, I don't want to lose any. So yeah,
and I'm with you on that. I don't want to lose any either. But I mean, the situation is it is present at this time, and I'm lucky that right now the pistol that's kind of in question is not necessarily something that I think a brand new purchase of it comes in less than $200.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily the idea. It's just the fact that if you really want to come down to it, civil rights were violated, right? I mean, if you don't necessarily break a law, and you suffer the punishment for breaking the law.
Yeah, but who is going to represent you in a suit for that? It ain't going to be the ACLU.
Oh, absolutely not, because the ACLU probably considers me to be a hate group.
Yes. So, bottom line is I try and stay out of the way of law enforcement. I try to not make myself a target for them. I mostly follow the traffic laws, and that's the big thing, because that's where people tend to go out and get you.
I don't throw no more beer cans out my window in public.
Yeah, that's bad, especially as you're driving down the road.
In a school zone, even. That's the worst part.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's better than throwing a kid out the window in a school zone.
Or throwing a kid out the window at a beer factory. That's even worse, man. They really frown on you.
They don't take too kindly to that. So
go ahead.
Okay, so we haven't gotten a whole lot of time to talk about guns here in the interim. I went ahead and dropped in chat a little while ago a story from the Motley Fool regarding Sturm Ruger and company. And the title of the article is How Sturm, Ruger and Company Makes Most of Its Money. I would guess that this would be a pretty short read, because I would say something like they make guns.
They make
That
guns and sell
that could be they make guns and sell guns, and they're guns that usually work.
and they're guns that are fairly popular. And honestly, all right, like the Ruger P85, P89, P94, that big old hunky brick that they made, that's an excellent pistol. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing, although it has been in a few Hollywood movies. It's definitely a pistol that's service sized. It's not necessarily a concealed pistol unless you're wearing like a great big old baggy Raider sweatshirt or something like that.
Which you'll never see me wearing, by the way, because the Raiders suck.
The Raiders are evil.
Yeah.
Even if I don't watch football, they're just evil. It was an excellent pistol, and it was, for a while, you could buy magazines for those things for like $11, and it was kind of an unusual item, because magazines made by Pro Mag actually worked excellent in that pistol for some reason, where they would fail in other weapons. Everything they made for that gun worked out well. I mean, that is truly a value pistol, and if it was the only pistol I had, I'd feel very, very comfortable with it.
Okay, so check this out. This story goes on to say that according to ATF, Ruger produced 1.67 million rifles, shotguns, pistols, revolvers in 2015, compared with 1.47 by Smith & Wesson. Okay, so it seems like they're dominating the domestic market as compared to Smith & Wesson.
Well, I think they've got a greater capacity to produce the polymer pistols, and you're looking at a greater influx of their polymer line at that point. Point
to Arizona versus point to Massachusetts, because of course Sturm Ruger out of the beautiful city of Prescott, Arizona, and Smith & Wesson out of Springfield, Massachusetts. Again, according to the ATF, in 2015, firearms revenue amounted to $544.9 million. I mean, that's more than the GDP of a couple countries, I'm pretty sure.
That really is. That's a large amount of money.
Yeah. In 2016, firearms industry produced $658.4 million, which is 21% increase. And then even in 2017 so far, they're only down 12% that, from that figure. So maybe sitting around probably $620 million in production for 2017. This is
$500 million.
Yeah,
that's half $500 million, man. That's a whole lot of money, man.
Yeah,
that's
so. When you think about it,
on like GM and Chrysler territory, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and comparatively, like I said, we said Sturm Ruger was at 1.67 for total volume. Smith & Wesson 1.47. Remington, of who we might have talked about a little while ago, 1.1 million. Think about that. Remington is known for churning out, rifles by the gross, and they're not even coming up with Sturm Ruger. And when you think of Ruger, do you think of the Ruger Mark IV, or do you think of the 1022, or do you think of the SR 556?
When I think of Ruger, I think of a stainless steel 357 Magnum. That's when you say I have a Ruger, that's what pops into my head. It is a big stainless steel 357 Magnum revolver, either the 5-shot that's huge or the 6-shot that's huge. The GP 101 or the GP 100 or the SP 101, which are both excellent pistols. And I mean, truly, they are moderately priced works of art. They're machined from a single piece of billet steel. They are excellent production. They work like a clock. When you run out of ammunition, you can bludgeon somebody into a bloody pulp with one of them things, and it'll still keep on ticking. And they have excellent customer service. I think they hire Mormon girls to work with them.
Yeah,
really, because they are the nicest people in the world. Like you really want to feel like you want to go out and buy like peanut butter in a 5-gallon bucket after you talk to them. They're just really, really nice people.
Oh, there you go. Well, I just think it's interesting that when you see the numbers and you see, you got 1.6, 1.7, 1.4, and 1.1. We're talking over. Oh, let's see here. That's 2, 3, 4 million guns produced between these three companies in the case of the year, and now we are estimated to have 350 million guns in the United States. That's more than one gun for every, legal and illegal member of this country.
Well, that's really like the whole thing behind the whole gun control argument. There are, 350 million guns. There's more guns in this country than there are people in all reality. There's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of, if there's 350 million guns, there's probably about 4 trillion rounds of ammunition floating around, to be honest with you. I mean,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you buy, 22 long rifle and 500 round bricks, there's easy 4 trillion rounds of ammunition floating around in the United States. If gun owners and ammunition owners were the problem, you'd know it.
Yeah, certainly. So, hey, I also want to go ahead and talk a little bit. This is kind of outside the gun realm, unless you're talking like really big guns. But what in the hell is going on with the U.S. Navy? Stop me if you've heard this one. U.S. Navy vessel crashes into a ship 4 times its size.
Well, it was named after McCain's father, so it might be like a history of tumorage or something.
Well, I don't know that Admiral McCain had any tumors. I know that his son currently is dealing with one, but
his son currently is one.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that based on everything that I'm hearing right now, it looks like from the images that I've seen, I dropped a picture.
It's a big old hole in the side of that.
That's a pretty big dent. And granted, it's like
10, below the water line.
It is at the water line and below.
At the water line and below the water line. And I mean, there's a lot of damage to that boat. That's not cheap. So what are we making our boats out of, dude?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's less than what the boats are made out of. I'm wondering what we're making out of the people who are responsible for navigating said ship. Granted, there's 10 sailors have been lost in this collision. Very, very near to where I live, we had lost a sailor in the last collision with the cargo ship. So, these accidents and collisions do hit close to home. What the heck is going on? I've read a story that said the commander of the Pacific Fleet has ordered a safety stand down, and the latest is that a angle of hacking is being investigated as a possible cause for this collision.
They blame the Russians. I'm going to be really, really pissed off.
Well, watch out for collusion.
Dude, I heard there were cahoots.
Yeah, the commander of the U.S. Pacific Command, which is a unified combatant command, his name is Harry Harris. This won't have an overall adverse effect on operations. However, this is going to have a time to take a pause, review procedures, and make sure. Yeah, and this is something that's happened in the Pacific Fleet a couple times in the last couple months. This is a very, very, very dangerous thing. I mean, they're having to seal watertight compartments, which in effect basically they doom everybody who is on the inside while those compartments are taking on water. So these aren't decisions that a commander or a damage controlman have to make, in a vacuum. People feel the consequences, and these are service members who go into the service understanding that they are putting themselves in harm's way. So this is always a possibility, and people kind of put it out of their mind until it actually happens. But what the hell? The Navy's pretty good about firing people. And
I mean, what I don't understand is, look, we as tax-paying U.S. Americans, with or without maps, we have paid a lot of money for GPS. And I mean that like not in a joking fashion. We have paid a lot of money for GPS. Those are all our satellites that we have paid. We developed it. We invented it. How are we not using this?
Well, ask the Chinese embassy in Belgrade. If we have the greatest GPS systems on our guided missile units.
Oopus.
Oopus.
Sorry,
We may
Chinese.
we may be using the latest and greatest guided bomb unit technology, but it's all for naught when we're loading WGS-84 paper map data instead of the newest digital map data.
You know what? But whatever we hit that Chinese embassy with, look, I don't trust anything anymore. So they could tell us, oh, we made a mistake. No, you meant to put that right in the Chinise embassy.
Oh, no. Because if you remember, this was during the NATO air campaign over Serbia.
Yeah.
Guess which.
Or something?
No. This was early '99, and not only that, this was right after the Chinese basically went on TV and said that they had unilaterally developed a indigenously produced what do they call it, the multiple warhead reentry vehicles for intercontinental.
Yes, there you go. Oops.
Yeah, and this was at the time where Bill Clinton had widely been suspected of some pay for play with the Chinese and giving away these missile technologies. And when China made the announcement, the Department of Defense said, "Not so fast, Tang."
Yeah, a friend of mine and we were talking about the current geopolitical situation and the collusion and the cahoots and whatever, and how really, like, if you really think about it, like, every one of us U.S. Americans, whether or not you have a map, you better have at least 10 bullets that you can fill a Chinaman with, because that's the only way we even remotely come like close, is if every one of us like gets like 10.
Oh yeah, that's we're not even close at 10.
Our numbers are like, what is it? It's like 8-1.
Oh, probably more than that. You got to figure we're a country of 330 million. Give or take your illegal population.
And they are booming rapidly, right under the cusp of 2 billion, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to figure it takes three of us to equal one half of them.
What is it? It's if you are one in a million in China, there's 1,800 people just like you.
There you go.
Yeah, we need to develop like AR-15s to shoot nukes at that point.
Yeah, tactical weapon systems for close-in weapon system combat.
5.6 plutonium rounds.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So yeah, the interesting thing is I've just been sent a headline, and I think it was dropped in chat earlier. But a good friend of the show, Oddball, sent in a week of a Fox News tweet that says, in the light of recent events in Charlottesville, ESPN decided to pull one of its announcers from calling the University's of Virginia's football game because the announcer's name is Robert Lee.
That's funny.
So next up on ESPN 8, the Ocho will be intramural cribbage from the University of Virginia. Go Hoos.
Well, the NFL is like now like reaching out to embrace the LGBTQ community. Like the NFL,
I think they're just trying to come up with position names. Because everybody got a bunch of letters and they have positions
or team names. Maybe the Cleveland Browns will become the.
Well, no, honestly, that's a football team. LG left guard, okay. LGB, LG. What is it? I don't even know.
Left guard. Yeah.
So LG left guard. LG
the punt.
QB quarterback. T tight end, of course.
Well, of course you can't have a game football team without a tight end.
That's right. Who's going to play center?
All right, so the Mossberg, or the Maverick 88 by Mossberg, which is a 12-gauge shotgun that has a 7+1 capacity is a very, very fine value at less than $200 in light of today's riots and whatnot.
Yeah. Think of the children.
Not if you're watching gay football. Please don't think of the children.
Hey, don't hate.
Hey, hold up.
Hey, hold up. Don't hate.
All right, so we got to do some firearm safety here.
Please do.
First rule of firearm safety is every firearm is loaded until you physically and visually inspect and ensure that firearm is not loaded. Rule number 2 is keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction. You got to cover anything that you do not wish to destroy. Rule number 3, know what your target is, know what's beyond your target at all times. And the most important rule, the rule that gets violated and causes all kinds of havoc in life, keep the booger hook off the bang switch until you're ready to discharge the weapon. Keep your finger outside of the trigger guard, off the trigger, until you're ready to shoot.
There you go. Good range safety right there. So we're getting ready to we're getting ready to roll into
show. I don't think I've actually missed saying that in any show.
Yeah. We're getting ready to roll into muzzleloader season, and muzzleloaders being the most primitive modern firearm that's usually available for hunting. I'm
holding my stuff right now. Black powder matters, baby.
Yeah, that's it. Black powder matters. The pricing on this is kind of something interesting. You're looking at most of the modern inline muzzleloaders coming in anywhere between $250, $300, all the way up to like $650, $700. If you're talking like a CVA Optima or Acura with the Bergara barrel, the stainless or the coated barrels. I mean, this is the price of a well appointed centerfire rifle. But when you think about it, these muzzle loaders that are of the modern variety are smoking hot in accuracy out to 200 yards and beyond. So what you're literally getting
a muzzle loading revolver, or not a muzzle loading revolver, but a black powder revolver, and just being able to participate in the primitive aspect of it.
I just think that it's going to be interesting to see. This will be a year where I go out again and try and see what I can get with the muzzle loader, and hopefully some deer makes the last mistake of its life right in front of me. And will
you be taking a camera out there?
Yeah, hopefully so. But
I would like to see a smoke pole video. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we could do sometime is actually get like a live stream show.
Yeah, so I don't usually make videos of pole smoking, but if you like to see the smoke pole, sure. I don't judge. I don't hate.
Whatever flag you want to wave, brother.
Yeah. So I think it'll be pretty interesting because when I go out on hunts like that, it's usually I'm by myself. Might have another hunter on the other end of a field or other end of a property, and I have for those of you that are into photography, I have a GorillaPod tripod, which allows it to hold itself in place at the edge of a stand, and the camera that I have will attach to it. I can go ahead and take some video and hopefully get it set up, and then be able to level the muzzle loader without alerting the game to my presence, and see if I can go ahead and get it. It's difficult to do. I have done it before, and the quality of the filming was less than optimum because I can only focus on one thing at a time. I'm old school.
I think I'm going to get a GoPro.
I'll tell you that for the GoPro is.
I will not get a GoPro. I will get the GoPro's cheapest Korean knockoff.
Yeah. Well, in a shout out to our buddy Oddball, giving me some shit online about pole smoking. He's out there listening. So Oddball, I'll tell you what, you are the first guy that gets mud in your barrel, and everybody knows it.
Well then.
But we do got to give Oddball a shout out. He has had a successful tour as a first sergeant in the United States Army, and he was 3 for 3. 3 months of service and 3 equal opportunity complaints for racism. So once again, congratulations, Oddball. That is 100%. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you, sir. You have done us all a service, and Donald Trump will sign your exit papers.
I believe so. With any luck, it will be.
I really I don't think he's going anywhere.
Actually, he's in the middle of a move. He's heading back to the promised land. Very good for him and his family. You know, it's a difficult time being a first sergeant. That is usually a 2-year tour of your life that the Army gets everything out of you and gives you nothing back. It is a thankless job, and you deal with pricks of every color and nationality.
I'm glad you're coming home, Oddball. I'm glad you're coming home, and may you get to visit a very large Buc-ee's near you soon and participate in their very, very clean bathroom and large array of fountain drinks.
Yeah. And he certainly wants to remind everybody, all our listeners and all our friends in chat, that not a single one of these allegations was founded. These were all unfounded allegations. And I want to say it's because he's a white guy.
I disavow, repudiate, and do not equivocate with his transgressions or rhetoric.
What is it? His cis racism?
He doesn't even use the right goddamn pronouns, dude.
Yeah. Well, you know, he's an old guy like me. He's I would for sure have been. I was telling him I was for sure going to get an EO complaint before he did, but he's 3 up on me. I don't think I can catch up to him.
You can, if you try. If you try, you can do it.
Well, I was telling him the only thing that can make this better is if Oddball gets a DUI. If he gets a DUI, he is a shoo-in for Command Sergeant Major. Because you cannot be a Command Sergeant Major in the Army unless you have at least 1 DUI. Why? Because it shows that you're resilient.
That you can take a hit and come back.
You can take a hit and come back.
I like it. You know what? Jägermeister, dude. Jägermeister. Don't even adulterate it with any of that wussy like Red Bull stuff. Just take that stuff straight and cold. You can do it.
Yeah. Well, man, we're coming up on the end of another wonderful fun-filled week. You know, here we are getting ready to roll into the we're almost at the Labor Day weekend. You know, in this area we've got schools starting up. So once again, be careful if you have your concealed carry permit and you're driving near a school zone, because lo and behold, all it takes is you holding a cell phone in most jurisdictions for a cop to stop you, and lest you have a concealed weapon.
Please hope to God that Super Cop does not work in your locale too.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting. Look for a new litany of school jurisdictions to basically either go against or for ordinances allowing administrators and educators to conceal carry in the classroom. I'm sure that's going to come up in light of the recent events in Charlottesville. The mayor of our illustrious community has decided that he wants to push for a stringent gun control measure in the state, even though no firearms were used in the commission of a crime during this riot.
He's preemptively thinking of the children.
Yeah.
And you know what?
You got to think of the children before you can harm the children.
You have to pass the bill so you can see what's in it.
So you can see what's in it. There you go. Oh my goodness. Well, hey, I want to give a big shout out, of course, to Oddball. I saw a good friend of the show, Gringo, in chat. Everybody in chat, thanks for tuning in. Jules, thanks for getting us on here. Michael, take us out of here, man.
Nicholas, I can't believe that you made it in just like you did. Everybody, you see why I get what you get nowhere else. Thanks a lot. 5-year anniversary. You see why rocks it.
Patriot